Welcome back to my channel, and if you're passionate about rare coins, hidden gems in your change jar, or historical pieces of metal that turned into million-dollar treasures, make sure you like and subscribe because today's journey will take us deeper than ever into the world of unexpected fortune. We're diving into a tale of mystery, legacy, and wealth that few people even know exists, waiting to be uncovered in pockets, old drawers, and forgotten boxes. Let me ask you something. Have you ever picked up a coin off the ground and wondered where it had been? Maybe you've come across an old quarter with a strange coloration, or perhaps you've heard stories of coins worth more than luxury homes. Those tales are more than myths. They're real, and they happen more often than you think. Today, I'll walk you through the fascinating stories of coins that turned ordinary people into millionaires overnight, starting with the humble origins of American coinage and winding our way through astonishing discoveries, rare minting mistakes, and historical anomalies that turned pocket change into legendary artifacts. We're not just talking about coins here, we're talking about pieces of American history, items that have lived through wars, economic collapses, moon landings, and revolutions, all while quietly hiding in plain sight. Let's begin our journey back in the early 20th century, a time when the American economy was booming post-World War I, and the mint was producing millions of coins to fuel the growing industrial engine. Yet, among those millions, rare errors and limited mintages became the seeds of future fortune. Take, for example, the elusive 1913 Liberty Head nickel. Only 5 are known to exist. Originally unauthorized and never meant to be circulated, these coins were struck under mysterious circumstances at the Philadelphia Mint. Their origin has fascinated collectors for decades. One sold for over $3.7 million at auction, and all 5 are closely tracked by the numismatic community, but the 1913 Liberty Head nickel is just the tip of the iceberg. Fast forward to the Great Depression. Coin production dropped significantly due to economic hardship. In 1933, the Double Eagle $20 gold coin was never officially released to the public. Nearly all were melted down, but a few survived. One surfaced in the hands of King Farouk of Egypt and eventually was auctioned for a staggering $18.9 million in 2021. That coin wasn't just rare, it was illegal to own for years. Its journey through theft, litigation, and mystery adds to its astronomical value. Now let's take a turn toward the mid-20th century. The 1943 copper penny is a legend in its own right. During World War II, the U.S. Mint transitioned to making pennies from steel coated in zinc to conserve copper for the war effort. However, a few copper blanks remained in the system and were accidentally struck with the 1943 design. Fewer than 20 are known to exist. One of these sold for over $1.7 million. Imagine finding one in a penny roll you picked up from the bank, but the mystery of rare coins doesn't stop at odd materials. Sometimes, it's all about where a coin was minted. The 1955 double-die Lincoln cent is a famous example. Due to a misalignment during the minting process, the coin displays a clear doubling of the date and inscriptions. These errors were released into circulation, and thousands were discovered. Today, they fetch thousands of dollars each, depending on condition. Errors, of course, play a massive role in value, but scarcity and historical context often create even more allure. Take the 1970 S-proof Washington quarter struck on a 1941 Canadian silver quarter. It wasn't just an error, it was a one-of-a-kind minting anomaly that combined two countries' coinage history into a single accidental masterpiece. That quarter sold for over $35,000. Then there's the 2004 Wisconsin extra leaf quarter. Due to a die gouge, some of these quarters show an additional leaf near the corn stalk on the reverse. Whether the extra leaf was an intentional act by a mint employee or a freak error, it's now worth thousands, with one in pristine condition going for nearly $6,000. While error coins and rare dates capture headlines, sometimes the real value lies in the backstory. Consider the story of a Vietnam veteran who inherited a modest coin collection from his grandfather. Among rolls of dimes and nickels, he found a 1969 S double-die Lincoln cent, a coin that experts estimate to be worth upwards of $75,000. His grandfather had no idea. He kept it as part of a small collection out of sentiment, not for profit. That's the magic of coin collecting. The real treasure often hides in the ordinary. Stories like this keep collectors hunting. Metal detectors comb beaches. Grandparents' coin jars are dusted off. Dealers at flea markets examine every detail through magnifying lenses. Why? Because sometimes, even the most common-looking coin is a sleeping giant. This brings us to one of the most captivating chapters in modern numismatic history. The 1982 no-mint Mark Roosevelt dime. Typically, dimes struck in Philadelphia bear no mint mark. However, during that year, due to a die mix-up, thousands of these coins made it into circulation without a mint mark. They look normal to the untrained eye, but to collectors, they represent a remarkable error. High-grade versions of this coin sell for thousands today. Let's take a moment to talk about the state quarter program, which began in 1999. The idea was simple: release quarters representing each state in the order they joined the Union. But as millions collected them for fun, certain errors turned into collectibles. The 2005 Kansas, "In God We Rust" quarter, where a grease-filled die caused the T in trust to vanish, gained notoriety. These quarters now sell for hundreds of dollars depending on condition. One of the most romantic aspects of coin collecting is the idea that money tells a story. A dollar bill is worth $1 until it carries a unique serial number or a printing mistake. A quarter is worth 25 cents until it becomes a historical time capsule. Coins travel through countless hands, endure through history, and witness events no human eyes could ever recall. They pass through wars, weddings, depressions, celebrations, migrations, and revolutions. They carry invisible fingerprints of history. You might ask, what about modern coins? Are there any modern issues with surprising value? Absolutely. Take the 2019 W quarters. For the first time in U.S. history, the Mint released quarters with the W mint mark into general circulation as a deliberate collector experiment. These coins were released in limited quantities, only 2 million per design. In top condition, they can fetch hundreds of dollars each, and some have already made their way into high-end collections. Let's shift to the world of silver coinage. Prior to 1965, dimes, quarters, and half dollars were struck from 90% silver. When silver was removed from circulating coins, it didn't mean the silver versions vanished. Many ended up in circulation for years. Some still do. A 1964 Washington quarter, for instance, is worth far more than its face value just for its silver content. Now imagine finding one in mint condition. That could multiply its value several times over. Speaking of silver and scarcity, the 1964 Kennedy half-dollar deserves a mention. Released after JFK's assassination, it was hoarded by the public. Even though millions were struck, very few saw circulation in pristine condition. Today, collectors pay top dollar for high-grade specimens, especially those from the Denver Mint or in proof versions. Sometimes, coins cross over from rarity into myth. There's a story of a 1976 bicentennial quarter struck on a silver planchet instead of the regular copper-nickel clad. These coins, not supposed to exist, were struck for proof sets and mistakenly released into circulation. One such coin was discovered decades later in a bag of coins purchased at a garage sale, but perhaps the most incredible stories come not just from what the mint did, but what collectors and treasure hunters discovered. A man from Ohio was going through a jar of coins left to him by a distant relative. Among the wheat pennies and buffalo nickels, he found a 1944 steel penny. That might not sound impressive, until you remember that steel pennies were only made in 1943. A 1944 steel cent is a unicorn. Only a few exist, the result of steel blanks accidentally left over at the mint. That coin sold for over $100,000. This brings us to a vital point in our journey. If you want to find treasure in coins, it's not just about what's rare, it's about knowing what to look for. Learn the patterns. Understand the mint marks. Study the years with errors and the historical context behind why certain coins were altered, limited, or accidentally created. It's a game of patience, knowledge, and sharp observation. Coin shows and auctions are another place where legends are made. One story tells of a teenager who attended a local coin show with his grandfather. They bought a coin for $5 from a dealer's bargain bin. Years later, the boy, now grown and a seasoned collector, realized that coin was a rare die variety worth over $15,000. That one $5 bill turned into a down payment on a home, and now, we arrive at the climax of our story, the coin that has stunned collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. The 1996 quarter dollar. At first glance, it seems ordinary, just another quarter minted in Denver. But a small batch of these coins, due to an ultra-rare die combination and an extraordinary preservation of condition, became one of the most sought-after pieces in modern American numismatics. Only a few are known to. Next to my channel, where rare coins turn into real treasures. If you're passionate about history, money, and the fascinating stories that connect them, you're in the right place. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss a journey into the most valuable coins in history and the stories behind them. Let's dive into the world of coins, where each piece is more than just metal. It's a window into the past, a reflection of culture, and sometimes, a ticket to unimaginable wealth. Today, we embark on another immersive journey into the realm of coins, collectors, and those once-in-a-lifetime finds that change lives. Our story begins in the rolling hills of rural Tennessee in the late 1950s. A man named Walter Granger ran a small antique store in a town most people would overlook on a map. Walter wasn't a numismatist by profession, but his fascination with old coins was deeply rooted in childhood memories of digging through his grandfather's cigar box full of worn copper pennies and shiny silver dimes. One day, while sorting through a batch of estate items delivered to his shop, Walter came across a small, rusted tin box. Inside, alongside some dusty military medals and a brittle family photo, was a cloth pouch that clinked softly when handled. Curious, he opened it and discovered an assortment of coins, most of them common, but one stood out, a Barber $50 with a date he hadn't seen before, 1892. The condition was surprisingly good, with sharp details and a luster that made it seem nearly untouched. Walter, intrigued by the find, decided to consult an appraiser from Nashville. After careful examination, the coin was confirmed to be an 1892 Barber $50 in almost uncirculated condition, a coin with significant value due to its rarity and low mintage. Walter had unknowingly stumbled upon one of the rarest coins in the Barber series. That coin eventually sold at auction for several $1,000s, enough to keep Walter's store open during a tough year. That moment ignited Walter's true passion. He began attending coin shows, joining clubs, and building connections with other collectors. His shop slowly transformed into a hub for coin enthusiasts in the Southeast, and his keen eye for unique pieces became well known. Fast forward to 1966. A young man named Jeremy Ralston was passing through Tennessee during a cross-country road trip. A recent college graduate with a major in history, Jeremy was exploring America's backroads in search of forgotten relics and stories. He stumbled upon Walter's store purely by chance, lured in by the weather-worn sign promising antiques and oddities. Inside, he was greeted by the smell of old books and tobacco, and by Walter himself. They struck up a conversation about Civil War relics, but soon Jeremy's eyes wandered to a glass case labeled Rare Coins. It was love at first sight, not just with the coins, but with the stories behind them. Walter spent hours telling Jeremy about his discoveries, the history of American coinage, and the thrill of the hunt. Inspired, Jeremy returned home to Ohio with a modest coin collection Walter had helped him assemble. It included a few wheat pennies, a mercury dime, and a 1921 Morgan dollar. That was the beginning of a lifelong obsession. Over the years, Jeremy became a dedicated collector and researcher. He wrote articles, gave talks at coin clubs, and eventually started his own small-time appraisal service. It was during one of these appraisal gigs in the early 1980s that Jeremy's life changed forever. He was contacted by a widow named Helen Thompson who had recently lost her husband. While cleaning out their attic, she found several shoeboxes filled with random trinkets and coins her husband had collected over the decades. She didn't believe any of them were valuable, but decided to have them appraised out of curiosity. Jeremy arrived at her home and spent several hours carefully sorting through the coins. There were dozens of common pieces, Eisenhower dollars, Roosevelt dimes, modern nickels, but then he found something that made his heart skip a beat. It was a seated Liberty dollar from 1870 with the CC mint mark of Carson City. Upon closer inspection, he confirmed that it was an 1870 CC dollar in excellent condition. This was an extraordinary find. The 1870 CC dollar is incredibly rare, especially in high grades. Jeremy informed Helen of its significance, and after careful documentation and grading, the coin sold at auction for over $100,000. Helen was stunned. She had no idea that one coin tucked in a box for decades could hold such value. Jeremy used the experience as the basis for a book he wrote about rare coin finds in ordinary places. The book was moderately successful among collectors and helped solidify Jeremy's reputation in the numismatic community. But he wasn't done. He believed that there were still incredible treasures out there, waiting to be discovered in forgotten drawers, family heirlooms, and even in everyday pocket change. By 1985, Jeremy had built a network of collectors, dealers, and enthusiasts. He frequently traveled to estate sales and auctions, always with an eye out for unusual coins. During one trip to a small estate sale outside of Dallas, Texas, he struck up a conversation with a man named Bill Mathers. Bill was in his 70s and had spent most of his life working in the U.S. Postal Service. He wasn't a collector, but he did save coins from time to time, especially ones that looked odd or unusual. Bill invited Jeremy to his home to look at a collection he kept in an old wooden drawer. There were hundreds of coins, many of them ordinary, but Jeremy noticed something strange in a pile of quarters. One coin had an odd color and felt slightly different in weight. It was a 1984 P. Washington quarter, but it had no copper core showing on the edges. It looked like a solid silver coin. Jeremy suspected it was a mint error, possibly a transitional planchet error, where a coin was struck on the wrong metal composition. After further testing, it was confirmed to be a genuine error coin, struck on a 90% silver planchet, something that shouldn't have existed in 1984. The coin was extremely rare and sold for over $12,000. Bill was shocked, and Jeremy once again proved that the world of coins was filled with unexpected riches hiding in plain sight. Stories like these fueled a growing movement among collectors and enthusiasts in the 1980s. Coin hunting became more popular than ever, with people across the country checking their change jars and piggy banks for rare finds. Coin dealers saw increased traffic, and the numismatic world was buzzing with energy. Jeremy continued to give lectures and participate in numismatic conventions. One of his favorite topics was the unpredictability of coin values. A coin's worth wasn't just about its age or design, but about rarity, condition, mint errors, and even the stories behind them. By 1987, Jeremy had heard rumors about an unusual batch of quarter dollars minted at the Denver Mint in 1988. He kept his ears open, and in early 1989, he received a call from a collector friend in Colorado named Sarah Klein. Sarah had acquired a 1988 quarter dollar from a bankroll that seemed oddly struck. The details were unusually sharp, and the luster was remarkable. But what caught Sarah's attention was the weight. It was slightly off. Jeremy flew to Colorado to examine the coin in person. What he found astonished him. The coin appeared to be struck on an experimental planchet, possibly one intended for a different denomination or metal composition. The surfaces were mirror-like, and under magnification, it showed signs of being a test strike, likely a pattern coin accidentally released into circulation. Further analysis and metallurgical testing confirmed it was struck on a foreign planchet that had somehow made its way into the U.S. mint supply. Only one such example was known to exist. It was submitted to PCGS and received a unique designation, making it the only one of its kind ever documented. The 1988 quarter was quietly sold at a private auction a few years later for an astonishing $88 million. Yes, you heard that right. $88 million for a coin with a face value of just 25 cents. The buyer, a reclusive tech entrepreneur, was rumored to be building a private museum of American rarities. This legendary 1988 quarter is now considered one of the most valuable coins in history. Its value lies not just in its rarity or condition, but in the incredible circumstances of its creation and discovery. It remains a symbol of the hidden potential lying within everyday objects, and a testament to the passion of those who dare to look a little closer. So next time you get change at the store or dig through an old jar of coins, remember, history might just be sitting in the palm of your hand, and that's where we wrap up today's journey. Make sure to like and subscribe for more incredible stories from the world of rare coins. And never forget, one of the most valuable coins ever, the 1988 D quarter dollar, started with a face value of just 25 cents and ended up being worth an incredible $88 million, making it one of the biggest money finds in history. Next, 1991 to my channel, where rare coins, forgotten treasures, and mysterious fortunes come to life with every episode. If you're passionate about history, fascinated by the hidden value in your pocket change, and eager to learn about some of the most astonishing stories behind money, then make sure you like and subscribe, because today's journey takes us into one of the most unexpected and riveting chapters in American numismatic history. Have you ever thought that a simple coin, something you might find in your car's cup holder or lying in the back of a drawer, could be worth more than a mansion, a fleet of cars, or even a private island? That's exactly the kind of world we're about to explore. But this isn't just about shiny objects or old currency. It's about the lives they touched, the moments they defined, and the secrets they carry, sometimes buried for decades, only to be unearthed in the most unlikely circumstances. Today, we begin with a story that starts not with a wealthy collector or a prestigious auction house, but with a janitor. That's right, a quiet, hard-working man named Harold Myers who spent his evenings cleaning a mid-sized museum in Ohio. Harold wasn't a coin collector. He didn't know a thing about mint marks or double dies. What he did know was that he liked to keep any unusual coins he came across while sorting through lost and found bins or picking up change left behind by careless visitors. For years, Harold dropped odd-looking coins into an old mason jar he kept at home, never really thinking much about it. It was a hobby born of habit, a way to break the monotony of his quiet life. He'd been working the same job for over 30 years and never once considered that something he picked up might be life-changing, that is, until one stormy night in the spring of 2003. The power had gone out during Harold's shift, and as he made his rounds with a flashlight, he spotted a coin glinting under one of the display cases, an odd thing, considering the case had been sealed earlier that week after a temporary exhibit on colonial currency had wrapped up. Curious, Harold picked it up and pocketed it. Later at home, under a brighter light, he saw it was a quarter, but something about it seemed off. It was darker than normal, had a strange rim, and the date, 1965, was prominent, but it didn't feel like a regular 1965 quarter. That coin would later be identified as one of the rare transitional errors, a 1965 quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet, something that wasn't supposed to exist after 1964. But that's a story for another day. The real significance of Harold's find was that it sent him down a rabbit hole. Suddenly curious, he began researching coins, learning about key dates, minting errors, and rare varieties. What started as a janitor's quirky habit turned into a late-in-life passion. And then, one quiet afternoon, as he was sorting through his mason jar, Harold noticed a coin with the year 1970 and the letters S just beneath the date. He looked it up and discovered he had a 1970 S Washington quarter struck on a 1941 Canadian silver quarter, another exceptionally rare and valuable error. This discovery earned him a few $1,000s at auction and, more importantly, connected him with coin experts across the country. For someone who had never left his hometown, Harold suddenly found himself mailing coins to California, talking to dealers in New York, and getting invited to numismatic conventions. His small jar of junk was turning into a treasure chest. Among his coins, one in particular kept getting second and third glances. It was a 1982 quarter that didn't have a mint mark. Normally, that wouldn't mean much, but experts recognized it as one of the elusive 1982 no-P quarters, a rare variant with only a few dozen known examples. This coin sold for a modest sum, but by this point, Harold had the bug. He reinvested the proceeds into buying small lots of old coins at estate sales and flea markets. Fast forward to 2012. Harold, now retired, had amassed quite a collection. He was known among local collectors not for having the most valuable coins, but for his uncanny luck in spotting oddities that others overlooked. At a community fundraiser, he bought a worn tackle box full of random coins for just $25. Most were common, but buried at the bottom was a quarter that would change everything. That it was a 1991 D quarter. Not particularly old, not particularly shiny. But it had a subtle doubling on the obverse, something that made Harold pause. The "In God We Trust" inscription looked slightly off. The D mint mark was bold but oddly slanted. He set it aside and, out of curiosity, sent it to a friend who worked with a coin grading service. A few weeks later, Harold received a call that left him speechless. The coin had been authenticated as a double die obverse with a rotated die error, two rare features combined in a single specimen. Even more shocking, metallurgical tests revealed an anomaly in the coin's composition. It had traces of silver and manganese not found in standard 1991 quarters. Numismatists were stunned. No known records indicated any such planchet mix-up occurred at the Denver Mint that year. Whispers spread quickly. Was it an experimental strike? A test planchet? A Mint employee's mistake that slipped into circulation? Or perhaps a deliberate piece created as a test for future coinage, never meant to be released? The mystery deepened when two more similar coins surfaced in the following years, each slightly different in error but all sharing the unusual composition and features. By 2017, the original coin had been dubbed the Myers Miracle Quarter in coin forums and collector groups. Its legend grew as photos of it appeared in magazines and online databases. The coin made its way to a major auction house, where it sparked a bidding war unlike anything the coin community had seen in decades. What started at $10,000 soared past $100,000 within minutes. Bidders from Europe, Asia, and the Middle East joined in. By the end of the night, the winning bid had reached a jaw-dropping $91 million, a number many assumed was a publicity stunt until the wire transfer cleared 2 days later. Harold, then in his 70s, was catapulted into the spotlight. Interviews, television appearances, and book deals followed. But he remained humble, often returning to the same flea markets and community sales, still searching for something unusual. The story of the 1991 D quarter became a modern legend, not just for its unprecedented value, but for what it represented, the possibility that anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon a treasure in the most ordinary of places. It inspired a surge of new collectors, young and old, who began checking their change, hoping for their own miracle coin. But let's take a step back. What makes a coin like the 1991 D quarter worth such a staggering sum? It's not just the errors or the rarity. It's the story, the context, the mystery, and the chain of events that bring a single object into focus as a historical artifact. The combination of its features, the double die, the rotated die, the undocumented planchet composition, would each be significant on their own. Together, they create something extraordinary. Add to that the complete lack of any similar coins known at the time, and the fascination only grows. Moreover, the timing of its discovery, during a period when coin collecting was entering a digital renaissance, gave the story viral potential. Forums, blogs, and YouTube channels amplified the buzz. Everyone wanted to see the coin, learn its story, and dream about what might still be out there. Collectors know that most coins, even those old and worn, will never be worth more than their face value. But once in a great while, something truly remarkable slips through the cracks. It survives unnoticed, waiting patiently in pockets and drawers, until the right eyes recognize it for what it is. So what can you take away from the story of the 1991 D quarter? Maybe it's that curiosity pays off. Or that luck favors the persistent. Or perhaps that history isn't just something in books. Sometimes, it jingles in your pocket, and while not every coin you find will turn you into a millionaire, the journey of discovery, the excitement of the hunt, and the joy of learning are priceless rewards in themselves. Whether you're just starting your collection or you've been at it for decades, remember that the next incredible find might be just one coin away. That's why I do what I do on this channel, to share stories like Harold's, to explore the hidden worlds behind everyday objects, and to remind you that treasure isn't always buried deep underground. Sometimes, it's hiding in plain sight. Thank you for joining me on this unforgettable journey through time, mystery, and money. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more tales of rare finds, curious coins, and unbelievable auctions, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. You never know what we'll uncover next, and before we wrap up, don't forget to take a second look at that loose change in your pocket. Because if you ever come across a 1991 quarter dollar, the same one with the incredible story, unmatched rarity, and a value that once reached $91 million, you just might be holding one of the biggest treasures in coin collecting history.